Namaskar, welcome to this session. We are considering the Brahmacharya concept, and therein we came to a point that there is a kind of biological creativity power and spiritual creativity power in the Shukra Dhatu. These Shukra is an important dhatu for Prajotpatti, progeny. And if you look at the biological dimension of it, the science tells us that the semen and ovum cell are the basis, are the cause of progeny. So that is called Stri Bija and Po Bija. And both contribute equally in Prajotpatti, in progeny. That means the feminine component and the masculine component equally contribute for progeny. Now, the Adhyatma tells us about something that is called as Amoghavirya, which was referred to in the last session. By Brahmacharya, there is Amoghaviryam. The Shukra Dhatu can become Amoghavirya. And in Amoghavirya, all the 48 factors are there. Otherwise, out of 48 factors needed for progeny, 24 are in semen and 24 in ovum cell. But in case of Amoghavirya by Brahmacharya, all the 48 are found in that person who is in Brahmacharya Vrata and who has turned out Amoghaviryam. And in that case, masculine factor is accomplished and complete to have Prajotpatti. Doesn't have to depend upon the 24 which are available in feminine factor. So Amoghavirya means it is masculine factor of progeny plus feminine factor of progeny. So biologically it is 48 factors which can be found in Amoghaviryam, while in Retas there are only 24 factors. And the 24 factors are had from counterpart. So this concept of Amoghavirya is to be only found in Adhyatma and Paramartha. The biology doesn't speak about it. The biology has no idea about it. The modern science of biology has no idea about it. Now let me also refer to Yoga Bhashya on the 38th sutra of the second chapter. In the commentary, we come across a statement where Vyasa says that the Jnana Shakti is not obstructed and impeded in the viryam of one in Brahmachari Vrata. And there he makes a mention that this Shukra Dhatu can be a material cause for exaltation of wisdom. And then Vyasa proceeds to say that Brahmacharya Pratisthayam Virya Labha, and meaning of Virya Labha is extended to a condition that sagacious person, sagely person, Rishitulya person is able to transmit the knowledge absolutely ditto as it is in he himself. So the success of transmission of knowledge depends upon the Amogha Virya, that means depends upon Brahmacharya. It is lack of Brahmacharya because of which one is not able to transmit the knowledge that one must be having. Basically, knowledge itself doesn't come up without Brahmacharya. Therefore, Brahmacharya is related to Jnana Sadhana in Oriental thought process. So, Jnanam depends upon Brahmacharya. And this concept has root at the social culture of the lower. So by Brahmacharya Vrata, as Vyasa puts it, there is Amogha Virya, and by Amogha Virya the spiritual knowledge is transmitted without flaw and without deficiency. So it can be noted here that when the Shukra flows downwards towards generative organs, right, for generative purpose due to sexuality, it becomes Retas, and there is Kama Vasana found in plethora in seminal discharge or the Retas. When it is drawn up by Brahmacharya Vrata, so Brahmacharya Vrata is to draw the Shukra Dhatu up and make it Tejas and Ojas and Urdhvaretas and Amogha Virya. So that is what is Brahmacharya. It is Jnana Sadhana. It is Achara. Achara of supreme caliber. Conduct of life on supreme caliber. And therefore the Amogha Virya is attained. So for Amogha Virya, what is practiced is Brahmacharya, and that is what is the major idea of Brahmacharya. So this Amogha Virya is Swayam Purna. And here we can understand the story of Vyasa Janma, Vyasa's birth, Parashara Putra Vyasa. And this is a wonderful example to understand what is Urdhvaretas, as to how Vyasa was born. The Divya Janma of Vyasa, Veda Vyasa. And that's the episode in Mahabharata which tells us about the Brahmacharya, Amogha Virya and the Urdhvaretas sage, Parashar. Parashara was son of Shakti and grandson of Vasishtha. And he was in tapasya, penance, in Himalayas for number of years. But because of Parecha Prarabdha, Bhagavadecha, which was again discussed during Karma Siddhanta, if you go back and look at the Prarabdha Karma classification, we mentioned there Parecha Prarabdha, which is Bhagavadecha Prarabdha. So because of desire of divinity, Parashara Muni, who came down to plain of Ganges, and then he was on the bank of Yamuna. He was bank of Yamuna, and he wanted to cross Yamuna river. And there he met Matsyagandha, a fisherman girl who was taking passengers across Yamuna from this bank to the other bank and from other bank to this bank. And it so happened that Parashara sighted Matsyagandha and requested her to take him across Yamuna, which was in Spate. And it is because of Bhagavadecha, it is because of divinity. Divinity wanted a son to be born of Parashara, of Matsyagandha. And therefore a desire popped up in the mind of Parashara. And he requested Matsyagandha to be prepared for intercourse. Now, the story tells us here that Matsyagandha was also one with very glorious kind of birth. She was born of a fish. And that is the story of another king of the same type called Uparichara Vasu. Uparichara means a king who would be flying in the sky. So he had an airplane and he would be flying for his commuting. And Uparichara observed a vrata, a vow called Prajapatya Vrata, where one has to be in absolute brahmacharya for 12 years. And he undertook that austerity for 12 years. He kept himself away from any gratification from his wife. And therefore that the Prajapatya Vratam exalted his Shukra Dhatu, and while he was flying, his vrata was over because he had to go to forest to practice this vrata. And for 12 years, he came out of his palace and went to forest and observed this vow for 12 years. And now the vrata was over. Now he intended to come back to his house. And he was therefore flying. And then he sighted something whereby he became romantic. And having become romantic, there was a similar discharge. Now he did not want to waste this semen. He wanted this to be invested into the womb of his wife. But for unforeseen reasons and for irresistible reasons, the discharge had taken place. So now he wanted this to be protected. So he collected the semen in a leaf, and then he was carrying it in the air. Now, some birds in the sky sighted this. That's called Shayena bird, Shayena Pakshi. The semen which was held in Vatapatra, very auspicious leaf of banyan tree, Vatapatra, it attacked the leaf and it lifted the leaf from his hands because it felt that there is something edible thing, eatable thing in this leaf, and therefore it picked up from his hands. And in that event, the semen fell into waters in the river which was flowing underneath. So it fell into Yamuna. And as is the habit of fish, whatever falls in the water, the fish immediately swallows it. And this fish in Yamuna swallowed the Amoghavirya of Uparichara. And this fish became pregnant. And then a fisherman netted this fish in his act of fishing, and then found a huge, heavy fish on a day which had got caught in his net. And the moment the fish was out of waters, two human beings came out of that fish. And one of them was said to be Matsya Gandha. Now this fisherman girl who was carrying the boat, rowing the boat of Parashara. So that means she was an offspring of Uparichara Vasu, who had undergone penance of 12 years of Brahmacharya. Now this girl was absolutely bewitching. Her beauty was very bewitching. And she happened to be the boat woman for Parashara. And Parashara therefore got bewitched, and he beseeched to have interaction with her. He said that it is irresistible for me, and therefore please oblige me. Now, from the semen of Parashara was to be born a great sage called Apantaratama. The Apantaratama was to reincarnate in the form of Vyasa, and that was the desire of Bhagwan, Almighty Divinity, that Apantaratama should be now taking birth, because Apantaratama was all the time in the archetypal plan, was taking birth and doing important work like Veda Vyasa did, Veda Vyavastha, and the whole enormous prolific writings of Vyasa, the Mahabharata, then the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. So the Apantaratama was to born of Parashara's Virya, and Parashara, who was already a great sage, carrying out penance decade after decade after decade on Himalayas, and now Matsyagandha, who was daughter of Uparichara Vasu, virtually, the desire bubbled up in Parashara. And she said to Parashara, Muni, I am also bewitched by you. But I am unmarried girl to my father. And therefore I have lots of problems in obliging you, which is also my wish. But I am seeing these problems coming in front of me, that I will be pregnant. Then I will be carrying for 9 months, and then I will be delivering. So this will be premarital relationship for me, which will create lots of problems for me in life, and I envisage those problems, and therefore I am hesitant. So Parashar came forward and told Matsyagandha, assured her. He said, and listen to this very carefully, he said that you will not encounter all such conditions, which are very normal, usual conditions, that a woman becomes pregnant and then delivers. But this will not happen to you, I promise. You will not be having any responsibility once you oblige me and honor my request. I promise you that you will not have any such problem or any kind of responsibility also as a mother to a baby. And then immediately he, by mantra samarthya, created black clouds over Yamuna. So it all became invisible for anyone, although it was daytime. And he said, once I have intercourse with you, I promise that the child will be born here itself on the boat. You don't have to go for a gestation period of 9 months and plus. The baby will be born here itself. But then you will not have any responsibility for mothering a baby, because the moment the baby is born, the baby will be 8-year-old child. So you will not have any responsibility to have the upbringing of the child, nourishing the child, feeding the child. Nothing of that sort will take place. And you will not be having any signs of being pregnant and having become a mother. No such sign will be there on you. So you will not be becoming pregnant at all. And not being pregnant, you will be delivering a baby. And the baby will be born of my Amogha Viryam. You don't have to contribute for progeny, only you have to lend your uterus for a couple of moments, and a baby will be born, which would be right away 8-year-old child, and I will walk away with the child, and you will remain as you are. Your virginity will be intact. So that's how Vyasa was born to Parashara without pregnancy, gestation period, to the mother, that is Matsyagandha. It is because the Amogha Virya contained 48 factors needed for progeny, and Matsyagandha had nothing to offer there for progeny. She only was needed to lend her uterus, the Garbha, for Vyasa to be born, and that's how Vyasa was born of Parashara out of Amogha Viryam. And after that, they had the intercourse and Vyasa was born. Vyasa was now immediately 8 years old. The clouds disappeared and it became clear, and they crossed the Yamuna, and Matsyagandha went back home without any mark and trace of having given birth to Vyasa. And but baby being born, naturally she had the Vatsalya Bhava and she could not easily part with her own baby. And Vyasa promises her, Mother, you just have to remember me. As soon as you remember me and you want me, I will be in your presence and obey your orders as a child. So I will be available to you on just Smaranam, and I will be waiting for your Agnya. I will be waiting for your order as you are my mother. So I promise this. And Parashara and Vyasa walk Himalaya worlds and Matsyagandha comes back home. So this is what Amogha Viryam does in Brahmacharya and by Brahmacharya Vrata. So this is an episode from Mahabharata which tells us about something about Parashara, Amogha Virya, and also the great Divya Janma of Matsyagandha from the semen of Uparichara Vasu. So that's what Brahmacharya is. So the yoga technology tells us that the Kundalini Shakti, which is dormant at the base of the spine in Mooladhara Chakra, by Brahmacharya Vrata it is raised up and it does the Chakra Bhedanam. So it goes upwards. Urdhvaretas means it goes upwards from Mooladhara to Swadhisthana to Manipuraka to Anahata to Vishuddhi to Agnya and then to Sahasrara. So that is Urdhvaretas. It really flows upwards in the spine. Because Mooladhara is said to be in the genital region. So from genital region, the Shukra is drawn up like water is drawn from well. Shukra is drawn up from Mooladhara, and that is why it is called Urdhvaretas. And Urdhvaretas becomes Amogha Viryam, which Parashara had, and absolutely self-sufficient to turn out a life. Merely touch of feminine organ of uterus is needed, and without gestation period, without pregnancy, without delivery problem, the baby is delivered without breaking through the virginity of woman. That's a great episode of Mahabharata which tells us about Amogha Viryam. So that is what I wanted to relate in the today's session as to what concept of brahmacharya is in Adhyatma and in Paramartha and in Yoga Shastra. So with this episode, I think we should end the session here today. We'll proceed on this brahmacharya in our next session. So namaskar all of you.